Righty ho then, fans. This is a lovely mess. The person whose it is asked me not to mention his name. Lyndon, hello, how are you doing, mate? This is the tale of one little sad diff that went knock knock knock, squeak squeak, rattle rattle all the way home. And it's a very ill RD56, and we're just going to go through what has actually happened to this diff. It all started with the pinion bearing in here breaking away. Now, apart from the fact you can see the damage on the actual race here, which is quite severe, up here it's actually smashed the casing, where it's actually come right up here, so where the seal sits, that's never going to seal again. Now, what normally fits in here is a tail bearing, which goes in there, pinion comes up, shim, pressure and all the rest of it. This is a rotating bearing. It's got the little rollers here, and it's got a cage, and then it's got an inner cage. Now what's happened here is I think Lyndon has managed to run it out of oil and get water in. So instead of having one of those, so on the bearing you have a spacer which sits on there, pinion comes through, then the flange comes down, the nut goes on the top. Unfortunately on this one it's all got so dry that we've ended up with the spacer completely welded itself to what is the inner race of the bearing. Now that has allowed all the rollers to come out of the bearing race. So actually those bits and that bit equals one of those. You'll notice here there's the two little pins for the centre of the RD56. That's fine. These are the two pins here. That's the long pin that's broken in half. The carrier bearings are showing more than a little sign of wear. In actual fact, the bearing fell off the plate. The plate itself is not that clever. The plate, as you can probably see here, has got a crack in the flange. So that flange has had it completely. That is literally on the point of breaking into a million little bits. There's a plastic cage in the RD56, but on Lyndon's cage is not exactly complete. This poor little part here where the air goes in, this has been very heavily damaged around here. Problem with this is it's 109 quid to replace plus VAT, if indeed you can get them. We're doing the other end, we're doing the flange I showed you a minute ago out of a nice hard material which will be available shortly, but this really also needs replacing. Gears themselves, well, this is supposed to have a thrust washer on it. That's broken up completely and that's quite worn. The gears themselves aren't too bad. This one's still got a thrust washer on, but as you can see there's a lot of contamination and dirt. And on the back of the planet gears there are these. Now I don't know if you can see this, but these have actually worn where there is a ridge that's worn and sort of, if you like, misshaped that. These are getting very difficult to get hold of. The pins that hold the diff together are broken. The adjuster plate, yes, that needs a bit of loving with a hammer. The shim that holds the pinion, that's been really badly chewed and it's got a massive ridge on there, and that has allowed the pinion to move up and down, which has smashed itself lovingly in and out as it's been able to move up and down, not being held in place. That has really caused some problems. This is the centre part of the ARB. It had actually got some broken studs in, which I've managed to get out, but I don't know if you can see here, something has really managed to smack that quite hard there and distort particularly these three teeth. So that's going to be another little problem. Flange, you can actually see that this here is completely rusty, and that is rusty because the bearing has actually got very dry and has actually spun itself on the housing. So apart from the fact it's got cracks where the holes go, it's also now not got the ability to hold a bearing. But this is the unit that we will be actually doing as a replacement. One of the other parts which I was really impressed to see was the flange. This is normally a highly polished level surface. This looks like it's sort of just been, well, it has been smashed around and that's completely shot, so it needs a flange as well. It's about another 20 odd quid. So where do we actually go with this? Well, if you actually look at it from a point of view of repairing it, it is a locker, it is an RD56, it's probably 25 years old, but if it had the right pieces in it, then it would go again. So you need a casing, let's say 30 quid. You need a head bearing, a tail bearing, 2 carrier bearings, 10 crown wheel bolts, and you need a crown wheel and a pinion. All of those have got to be replaced. You've got to get a centre shaft, if you can get a centre shaft. You need thrust washers, you need planet gear washers, you need pins to hold the bit in. All of that is about, let's say, £200. This bit here, that's another 109 plus VAT, and then you've got the piston inside, you'd have to replace that. I think that's about another 20. And you've got a cage, which is about £17. And then you've got to put it all back together. Oh, and you need an end flange, that's another 100 quid. So to basically put this back together is going to be more money than a new ash locker, which is exactly what he did. All I've got to work out is what the hell I'm going to do with this, or what he's going to do with it. But there you go. If you let water get into your ARB and it starts to make a funny noise, stop. Take the half shafts out, prop shaft off, drive home. If you keep driving it, this is the sort of damage you can do. Toodaloo for now.